Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom's back and welcome back to another episode of Solid Drives. Yes, I know I've not posted in the past couple of days. I've just been incredibly busy, but also kind of demotivated because YouTube doesn't even pay me anymore. So, I don't know, man. I know I said in the past that I wouldn't do this level of what can you get from that pack anymore, but as with my life, I guess, it's like when you go up a level, you don't want to go back down. So I don't know if we'll ever see the tier list kind of style. I think that this is just a lot more aesthetically pleasing to look at. I don't know, maybe if the pack is too big, then I'll go back to the tier list. But if anything was like under like 50 or 60 cars, I'm gonna go and do it. I'm gonna do it this way. Anyway, today we're gonna review the cutting edge carbon fiber. I know I'm a little bit late. Some of us might have already completed the challenge. I've already completed the challenge. I've opened like 3 of these. I mean, I didn't buy them. You get them from free in the challenge. You know what I mean? I've already completed the challenge. I've got the legendary, the epic, not the ultra though. For some reason, I've just not won the ultra rare yet. But that being said, you know, that might give me a different perspective on the pack to see what were the cars, ultras and above, I actually did use in the challenge, because I just finished it this morning, so the memory is still fresh in my head. But anyway, let us review the cutting edge pack, and if this is a pack that is worth opening, even if you've already completed the challenge anyway. So we begin with the lowest tier, obviously hot garbage, and I think that these are the worst cards that you can get from the pack. You get any of these and, you know, it's game over. Most of them are epics of the lowest tier, RQ67 and below. I think those speak for themselves. And then with the BMW 530 being the only ultra rare and the Porsche 959 being the only legendary. Now, of course, I'm going to showcase some times for you. The first one is going to be the Citroen Metropolis being an absolute piece of shit. Honestly, like, yes, it's good for the hairpin road and that's about it, but it loses everything else. And you need to realize that. I've made this a very biased, but like a bias in a bad way. A bias against the Citroen, I guess. Or I guess bias for the Citroen. I don't even know English sometimes, but what I'm trying to say is that I'm comparing the Citroen with a bunch of ultra rares. I'm not even comparing it to epics. I'm comparing them to ultra rares, and it isn't even the dominant car here. It's the best car for the hairpin, and that's it. It loses to the ultra rare BMW everywhere else, and the Honda Legend on the karting circuit, and the Mazda CX-90, surprisingly enough, on the fast circuit. That's a very, very sad showing for being the only epic. You would think that it would be able to walk the walk, but it does not do that, and it is just terrible in my opinion. And let's not forget that maxing out a Citroen Metropolis is incredibly harder than maxing out all the cars that you see below. It's just not worth it. Moving on to another car that I think is just very, very disappointing are going to be the Super Impreza and the Volvo. Again, you are already on the back foot when you are a low RQ epic. It just is what it is. It is just, there's a lot more scrutiny on the car when you want to upgrade 15, you know, if you want to expand or use 15 ultras to put into an epic. So because of that, you would want value out of it, and that's what, you know, the Volvo and the Super Impreza failed to provide. Again, as you can see, the Volvo is one of the worst cars here, even in this entire comparison for indoor karting, slalom, and G-force, losing to many of the ultra rares once again, and the Subaru Impreza loses directly to the Mitsubishi Lancer. Just another episode of Mitsubishi being better than Subaru. I know that in this comparison, the Subaru is the best car for hairpin, indoor karting, and karting circuit, but that's because there aren't any times for the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 3. Sorry, my throat got really, really dry. I'll edit out that cough. That was a general grievous cough, if anything. But yeah, I was saying that the Mitsubishi is just going to be better anyway. I know that it shows in this time that the Impreza is the best car here, but that's only because the Lancer Evolution 3 doesn't have its times for hairpin, indoor karting, and karting, and definitely it will be the better car. I can bet my balls that it will be better on indoor karting and karting circuit. Maybe only hairpin where the Impreza is actually better, but everything else, I can tell you right now, the Lancer Evolution 3 is going to be better. Anyway, moving on, the Porsche 959, probably one of the worst legendaries in the entire game, if not the worst legendary in the entire game. It's just ridiculously sad. RQ87 does not belong there. It should be 82 at most. Honestly, on the city streets medium and small, I'm comparing it to some medium ground clearance cars over here in the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo, the Porsche Panamera, and the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 8. And over here, I mean, it's a really sad sight that the RQ87 Porsche 959 can't even beat the RQ81 Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 10 on a city streets medium. It is the second best car here for city streets small, tying with the Porsche Panamera Turbo. turbo, but again, doesn't really win anything else. When it comes to the twisty track sets, it's even worse, to be honest. The Lancer Evo 8 can still hold its own, and the Lancer Evo 10 is still relatively okay. But then again, I'm comparing now the Porsche 959 to just low ground clearance four-wheel drive cars, but at a lower RQ, so 87 or lower. And as you can see, it still performs worse than the Porsche 911, a BMW M850, a Nissan GT-R Nismo. It's ridiculously sad. I mean, it's RQ 87, then I think the only reason why it's 87 is because, oh, it's medium, but it fails to win those medium track sets. So, okay, then let's judge it as a four-wheel drive car. Forget about the medium part, because it's not winning the medium parts anyway. In the twisty situations, is losing to legendaries that are like 3 RQ, 5 RQ cheaper than it. It's just ridiculously sad. Even losing to the fast circuit to an epic Lamborghini Diablo VT. The Porsche 959 is truly terrible, absolutely terrible. You know what? I really wish it got a little bit more MRA, because it seems like Hutch is just making out MRA numbers for cars anyway. So just give the Porsche 959 a little bit more MRA, and it might actually be a useful car. Definitely not biased in any sense, because I love the 959 with all my heart, but you get what I mean. Moving on now to Pernicious ULCER. These are cars where they're bad, but they're not completely useless. They might have some uses, and these are the ones that I think are Pernicious ULCER. The BMW 545, the Mercedes G55, the Subaru Baja Turbo, the Volkswagen Touareg, the Suzuki GSX, which I think this one would cause a little raised eyebrows, a few raised eyebrows, Subaru Impreza RB Red Bean 320, and the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. So let's get into the times again, shall we? So we start off with the Suzuki GSX, and as you can see, it's an RQ71. Fails to, surprise anybody. It fails to even impress anybody. It loses to the Ginetta everywhere, but to be fair, every car that I've compared to has lost to the Ginetta. If you take away the Ginetta and compare it to performance tire cars only, the Suzuki will lose to the Lotus Exige, being the better car. So I don't know, but for me, it's more of a personal experience as well. I own the Suzuki GSX. I've unpacked it a long time ago. I think I've had it stuck in my garage for 2 years now. And not once in that 2 years did I ever feel to, need to use it or upgrade it or max it out for a challenge. There was always a better option. There was always a bigger fish. So the Suzuki, in my opinion, is a Pernicious ULCER. I don't think it's absolutely horrible, but it's a car that I definitely don't need in my life. Next up is the Volkswagen Touareg. Again, doesn't really win anything. In fact, it's one of the worst cars in this comparison. The only reason why I'm not putting it in Pernicious ULCER is because, unlike the BMW, the only reason why I'm not putting it in hard garbage is because, unlike the epic BMW, which is a lot more expensive to upgrade, at least the Volkswagen is still cheaper to upgrade as an ultra rare, and it is four-wheel drive and all surface tires as well. But the main thing is that it's just cheaper to upgrade compared to that BMW in hot garbage. Moving on to the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. This was a really big disappointment for me. I really wanted to put this in frequent provider, and I think if it wasn't for this new format of what can you get from that pack, and if I just really and if I didn't evaluate every single car and I was just going off intuition, I actually would have put the V12 Vantage in freaking provider. But looking at the times, as you can see, against just RQ71s, when I'm not going higher, I'm just staying at 71s, it is the worst car for the twisty track sets, and it's not even the best car for the drag. So at the end of the day, you want a twisty car, you go Evora for 71, right? 71 all-round performance. And if you want a drag 71, then just go for the Dodge Viper SRT10. There is no space for the Aston Martin V12 Vantage, which is a bit of a shame. And let's not forget that the Viper and the Vantage are also both cars from the 2000s. So that's another niche where the Vantage kind of, just falters. And I'm pretty sure the Viper's from the 2000s. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure 2003 off the top of my head. But anyway, moving on now, I believe we're moving on to frequent provider. And this is where the bulk of the cars are going to be. Audi TT, McLaren 570S, Nissan Skyline, Mazda Familia, Lancia Hyena, Dodge Viper SRT, and the Renault R5, just to name a few among the 12 over here that you see. So starting off with the first car, or the first two cars that I want to compare are going to be, or the first three cars that I want to compare are the low ground clearance four-wheel drive cars. The low ground clearance four-wheel drive cars, namely the R32 as well as the Lancia Hyena, are actually decent. The main reason why I'm not giving them anything higher is because they're not the best of the best, but they really deserve to be RQ62. I don't think that they're overrated. I don't think that they're underrated. I think they are, they're a very accurate embodiment of RQ62 ultra rares, especially within that four-wheel drive low ground clearance niche. As you can see, it's not like they have any super dark reds across the entire board or super bright greens or anything like that. They are average, obviously all losing to the almighty R33, which is obviously going to be Der Kaiser. And then obviously for the McLaren, a little bit disappointing disappointing, to be honest. Yes, it's a great car for the hairpin and the fast circuit, but we need to remember that we are comparing the McLaren to cars that are lower in RQ, not higher. We're comparing it to the 83 Dodge Viper TA, which it tends to lose to on the twisty circuit. We're comparing it to the 83 RQ Saline and even the 82 RQ Mercedes-Benz GTR, etc., etc. So the McLaren, I gotta say, the G-force time is very underwhelming at 22.06. Literally the worst car in this entire comparison. It's not very strong on the slalom or twisty road either, losing out to the Porsche 911 GT3, the Porsche 911 GT3 RS and the GT3, and also losing out to the Porsche GT2 RS, which came out like 10 years before it. So very sad stuff from the 570 Spider. I thought it was going to be at least daily driver, but looking at the times, just not the case. Moving on is going to be daily driver category. So over here, as you can see, I'm ranking cars like the Viper, the Ariel Atom 1, the Renault Sport Megane, the Mitsubishi Outlander, the Volkswagen W12, the Saleen S7, and the Mitsubishi HSR-2. So the first car that I want to talk about for the Der Kaiser ranks, or sorry, the daily driver ranks, will be the Mitsubishi HSR-2. It's a very interesting car where within its own niche of APGP, it is like one of the cars, or epics and below at least, that has the highest top speed. So it will naturally be a very formidable testable car or testable option for APGP, mainly not because it has good MRA, but mainly because most APGP cars can't even go over 180 miles per hour anyway. So Mitsubishi HSR, that's, you know, it's got the 200 mile per hour speed, which is pretty cool. It's also ridiculously light, beating out cars like the RQ78 Porsche 911 and the RQ76 Mercedes A45 in super twisty tracks such as the car park, G-force, and slalom. So pretty good stuff. Also pretty decent time on the indoor karting, only losing out to the Mercedes A45. So as a 75, I think it hits, you know, slightly above its weight, you know, competing up against some 76s, 77s, even a 78, as you can see over here. And it stands out among other 75s, definitely better than those stupid Audis. Moving on to another car that I want to compare is the Saleen S7. Again, it's the same screenshot as you saw prior, comparing the McLaren 570S, but now the highlight is on the Saleen S7. Best car for car park, G-force, inner karting, karting circuit, slalom, and twisty road. For an 83, competing up against, you know, its own RQ as well as 84s, it is relatively impressive. So it is able to kind of, you know, tread water within its own RQ. Next up is the Ariel Atom 1 and the Mitsubishi Outlander. The Ariel Atom 1 being the best option for the G-force and the slalom, beating out cars like the Dodge Circuit EV, which is obviously, you know, Dirt Blossom Choice or Der Kaiser. Also beating out some really good options like the Jetta G40 as well as the Lotus Elise. As for the Mitsubishi Outlander, it's not too bad for an RQ67, being the best car on twisty road, snow, frozen lake, and G-force sand, beating out cars that are higher in RQ like the Ford Raptors, both of them, and it is just a better car across the board against the Bronco, which is one RQ higher as well. Also, it talks the talk because it's able to beat all cars below it in RQ, besides the Mitsubishi Pajero being a very, very light car, but this car you cannot get from the pack, the Pajero Evolution, so we're not going to talk about that too much. But the Outlander is, you know, I would say it's a pretty worthy 67, to be fair. Handles pretty well. Last but not least are going to be Der Kaiser, and I don't think I have any times for Der Kaiser. I think these cars kind of speak for themselves. They are pioneers. The Dodge Powerbox is your best four-wheel drive off-roader for ultra rares. Your GMC Cyclone is like your best four-wheel drive standard tire American car, or second best behind the Cadillac CT6. Third best in some regards if you want to count the Ford Fusion, but those two kind of go neck and neck. Obviously the Hyundai Ioniq, I've already talked about that car in a series before of overrated or overpowered. That thing is overpowered for sure. And then obviously your mainstays like your Chiron and your Veyron, you can't really go wrong with that. They're not as good as what they used to be, but they're still cars that you're definitely not going to fuse away, right? So overall, my final verdict, as you can see over here, of Der Kaiser all the way to hot garbage. The pros of the pack, I guess Bugatti. I don't know. I feel like if we were playing in 2017, 2018, this pack would have been a lot more enticing because, oh my god, Bugatti. And Bugatti used to be the best car in the game. Bugatti isn't the best car in the game. Bugatti isn't even close to being the best car in the game. Actually, you're better off unpacking a Rimac than the Bugattis. Anyway, that being said though, there's still really good cars that you can unpack. You know, they still have ridiculously high top speeds and great MRA and better handling than they should have. But there are still really good cars that you should definitely be happy if you get one of those. So Bugatti's always just gonna be, you know, a pro because of its reputation, I guess. Decent pioneers. So like I said, these are cars that are best in class. The Nissan Skyline R33, the best ultra four-wheel drive low ground clearance car. Power box, the best four-wheel drive off-road, etc., etc. The cons though is that the lows are really low. There's like crap. There's like level 1 crap, and then there's like level 10 crap. 10 being like even worse. Like the worst cars in here are the worst. I just realized I totally even forgot. I don't think I even put like a thing for the Volvo XC90, right? Like I didn't even put the car in the hot garbage category, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, the crap is like truly terrible. It is the worst of the worst. Like they're bad epics, and then they're like horrendous epics, and things like the Metropolis, the Volvo XC90, the Subaru Impreza, like that's like worst of the worst. Like the 959, one of the worst legendaries in the game, etc., etc. So that's the con of the pack. The bads are really, really bad, but the highs are not even that high. I mean, like, yeah, Chiron's cool, Veyron's cool, but I'd rather just get a Rimac. I'd rather just unpack a Koenigsegg, etc., etc. So anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Let me know down in the comments below if you're gonna go for the pack or not. Personally, I would pass. I'm not gonna be opening this pack and just, you know, just for funsies. That's just not gonna happen. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm gonna stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac, hold tight all night.